Welcome to online lecture series in organic chemistry, and we are going to start the introduction to bioinorganic chemistry. Now, bioinorganic chemistry, it is a branch of inorganic chemistry that deals with study of inorganic compounds involved in various biological processes. Now, it is mainly the study of metals and non-metals in biological systems. Now, it is observed that inorganic compounds play an important role in starting and regulating many biological processes, and therefore it is necessary to study the role of inorganic constituents. Now, bioinorganic chemistry, it is very vast subject of chemistry or branch of chemistry, but in this chapter we are going to study or concern with the basics of inorganic chemistry. Now, living bodies have mainly two types of constituents: organic constituents and inorganic constituents, such as proteins, carbohydrates, metallobiomolecules, etc. And there are about 40 elements present in the living body. The elements generally found in living body are, some elements are most abundant elements. These are the hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, sulfur and chlorine. These are the most abundant elements present in our body. The elements such as manganese, iron, copper, cobalt, zinc, molybdenum and iodine, these are the less abundant elements detected in body. And elements like silicon, vanadium, chromium, nickel, fluorine and bromine, these are ultra trace elements. Now, depending on the requirement and their role in biological processes, they are classified as essential and non-essential elements. Now, first of all, what are the essential elements? An element, it is considered as essential when it has a specific role for maintaining normal living state of tissue or a body. This is called as essential element. Now, essential elements, again there are two types: macro elements and micro elements. Now, what are the macro essential elements? Macro elements are the elements that are required to be present in the diet in the amount of more than 1 milligram, and they constitute 60 to 80% of all inorganic material in our body. Now, there are around 12 macro elements present in the body. The elements such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron, phosphorus, sulfur and chlorine. These are the macro elements present in the body. Now, the first four elements, that is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and sulfur, oxygen and nitrogen, the first four elements, these are present in substantial amounts in our body tissue, as they are derived from carbohydrates, proteins, etc. And therefore carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and sulfur, these are present to the major extent in our body. Again, another type of essential element is micro elements. Micro elements, these are the elements that are needed by the body of an organism in a very small quantities or amounts, The examples of these micro elements are copper, zinc, cobalt, molybdenum, manganese, iodine and fluorine. These are the micro elements. Now what are non-essential elements? The elements found in the living organisms other than essential elements, these are considered as non-essential elements. Actually, the main function of these elements is not yet clearly known, and therefore they are treated as a non-essential elements. Non-essential elements are bromine, boron, silicon, argon, nickel, aluminium, lead, tin, vanadium and titanium. These are the non-essential elements. Now some of the elements are essential at low concentration, but at high concentration they are toxic, such as iron, selenium and arsenic, even sodium chloride. At low concentration these are essential, and as soon as their concentration in body increases, these will be toxic. Now average elemental composition of an adult healthy man with average weight 70 kg has 43 kilogram of water, 4.3 kilogram of mineral salts and 1.6 kilogram of calcium, approximately 0.25 kilogram of potassium, 0.11 kilogram of chlorine, approximately 0.06 kilogram of sodium and magnesium, 0.006 kilogram of iron and less than 0.001 kilogram of zinc, magnesium, cobalt, copper, molybdenum and nickel is there. Now here again the metal constitutes about 3% of human body weight, and the metals are found in free ions or in complex form in various parts of body as well as in the blood stream. Even metals are present in the form of chelates, metal chelates, and metal chelates in living organism play two important roles. So they act as a catalyst in many metabolic processes. Even the metals help in the storage and transfer of either the metal ions or donor molecules and serve as agents for transmission of energy in the animals and plant metabolism. Now the curve for health response for an organism to essential elements is, now when the dose of essential element is optimum, then that particular organism function very well, or there is a smooth functioning of our organism, smooth functioning of metabolic activities. Now as soon as the dose of essential element by some means, if it is less than the optimum, then there is a deficiency, and because of deficiency smooth functioning it gets affected. Now even when dose is greater than optimum, then it will be toxic. Now if the dose is very less than the optimum, then that particular organism will be survival to death, bare survival to death. Hardly it will he or she will survive, or it causes death. Even the dose, if it is very high than the optimum, then that also leads to a death. So optimum concentration of essential element, it is most important for healthy growth of the organism and smooth functioning of metabolic activities. Now deficiency or excess of the element may give rise to metabolic disorders or inhibited growth. For example, consider the arsenic. its deficiency causes inhibited growth and its excess causes toxicity. Calcium, if it is deficient, then it causes rickets or osteomalacia and osteoporosis. If dose is excess, then calcification of tissues. Chromium, if it is deficient, deficiency of chromium causes disturbance in carbohydrates, protein and lipid metabolism. Excess of chromium causes lung disease, toxicity and liver and kidney damage. The deficiency of cobalt causes anemia. Excess of cobalt causes heart failure or polycythemia, that is increased RBCs. Now deficiency of copper causes anemia or Wilson disease. Excess of copper also causes Wilson disease. Now deficiency of causes, especially in children, responsible for dental decay, and excess of fluorine causes mottled teeth. Deficiency of iodine causes goiter, and excess of iodine also responsible for goiter. Now deficiency of iron causes anemia. Excess of iron also not good, it causes hemosiderosis or hemochromatosis, that is bronze diabetes. Now deficiency of magnesium, it causes convulsion or neuromuscular irritation. Deficiency of manganese, responsible for inhibited growth, low insulin, accumulation of fat in liver, etc. And excess of manganese also not good, it causes psychiatric disorder. Now deficiency of molybdenum, responsible for inhibited growth, and excess of molybdenum responsible for molybdenosis or impaired growth, anemia, diarrhea, etc. Deficiency of silicon, responsible for inhibited growth, and excess of silicon also not good, it causes lung diseases. Deficiency of sodium, responsible for hyponatremia, that is reduced blood pressure and circulatory failure, and excess of sodium responsible for the hypernatremia, increase in blood pressure, hypertension, etc. And deficiency of zinc, responsible for inhibited growth or anemia, and the excess of zinc also not good, it causes the toxicity, nausea, then gastric ulcer, then pancreatitis and anemia. So this is about the some elements and which disease caused by their deficiency and which disease caused when that particular element is in excess. It means any element, if it is present to the optimum level, then it is good for the healthy growth of organism. If it is less than expected or less than the optimum dose, it is also not good. And when that particular element is present in excess, that also causes the toxicity or disorder.